All right, 6 o'clock. I will not start the recording, but for the recording, this is ACI course 2, class 5, and on September 24, 2023. Let's gather our minds here as we usually do. Please bring your attention to your breath until you hear from me again. Now bring to mind that being who for you is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom. And see them appear there before you. They are gazing at you with their unconditional love for you, smiling at you with their holy great compassion. Their wisdom radiates from them, that beautiful golden glow encompassing you in its light. And then we hear them say, bring to mind someone you know who's hurting in some way. Think about how much you would like to be able to help them. And how the worldly ways we try fall short. How wonderful it would be if we could also help them in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they would go on to stop their distress forever. We're learning that this is possible. And so I invite you to grow that wish into a longing. And maybe into an intention. Then turn your mind back to that precious holy being. We know that they know what we need to know, what we need to learn, what we need to do to become one who can help this other in this deep and ultimate way. And so we ask them, please teach us that. And they are so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. Our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite. And so we think of the perfect world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands, and we offer it to them. following it with our promise to practice what they teach us, using our refuge prayer to make our promise. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with the blanket of flowers. The great mountain, 4 lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamnirya Tayami. I go for refuge until I am enlightened. To the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest. May I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened. To the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest. May we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened. To the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest. May all beings reach their total awakening for the benefit of every other. So let's review from class 4, which was more about bodhicitta, meaning learning more about what we mean when we use the word bodhicitta. It's becoming this really, really rich and full concept. So your quiz asked, describe the 4 types of the wish according to the level of one's mind. Do you remember those? Who can give me the first one? Joanna.
It's the wish in form of a belief. So as long as we haven't seen emptiness directly, we use what we have learned about emptiness in the pen, and we grow our understanding and grow our wish. But it's only intellectual, so we haven't had any direct experience yet.
Yeah, good. So this would be the bodhicitta in the mind of a still ordinary Dharma practitioner who believes in what they've been taught but haven't seen emptiness directly yet, right? You said that very well. And then another level of bodhicitta might be what?
Taking personal responsibility. This is when they have a I think is on the mind of a person who had the direct perception of emptiness. Like
Right.
they will never stop until they help everybody else
Yeah, good.
reach the same goal.
Good. Nice. Because they've seen it, now they don't just have the belief that things don't have their own nature. Now they know for sure. Yeah, nice. Then the third level.
Is the level is an area when they are in the level 8.
Yeah, good.
But they can't perceive the emptiness directly because they still have to clean some bad seeds or something
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah, right. Clean bad seeds that won't open, but they're still in there, blocking their ability to see emptiness directly and appearing reality simultaneously. So you could say the bodhicitta in the mind of someone who's reached arhat level, because they're no longer even experiencing things as self-existent. right? Mahayana Bhumi A. The second one, they still see things as self-existent. They don't believe it anymore, but out of personal experience. The first level is we still see things as self-existent. We've never seen reality otherwise, but we've been taught and we believe strongly enough that we're willing to change our behavior, right? So the fourth bodhicitta is, Joanna.
The bodhicitta and the mind of a Buddha. So they have cleaned out all those even tendencies to perceive things in the way that they are self-existent.
Yeah.
They now see directly all the time the emptiness of things. And it's called obscurations eliminated.
Yeah, good.
Wish.
Good. Yeah, which starts that big debate. So Buddhists still have bodhicitta, which is the wish to reach Buddhahood. Right? It is a bit of a conundrum. But again, we're packing the word bodhicitta. And when we think of it that way, it's not a conundrum at all. Okay. Then your quiz also asked, describe the two other types, of which there are two types of two other types. So whichever you chose is fine with me. Somebody give me one of the two types of the two types. Yes, Lisa.
The bodhicitta is a prayer and intention.
Yeah.
When you want to think as a bodhisattva, but not ready to take the vows.
Yeah, nice. And then the other? That's
As an
one, that's
action.
half of the first kind of two.
Ah, okay. That one I don't remember.
The other one is the action bodhicitta, right? Taking the vows, I'm going to actually act. I'm going to actually work on trying to reach my Buddhahood. The first one is
Ah,
the
yeah, okay.
idea.
I thought you were asking the first one of the other kind.
No. The first of the two. You're right. I see my English is confusing. Of the two types that you chose to tell me, what are the two parts of that one? We got it. What's the other kind of two divisions of bodhicitta? Yes, Joanna.
It's the deceptive or the ultimate bodhicitta. So the one is still the fake one, where we perceive things as being self-existent, and the ultimate one is when we already know that things are empty of any self-nature.
Okay, so in this division, the ultimate bodhicitta is code word for seeing emptiness directly, which is a little different than what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
And the first one is the bodhicitta that we mean when we say the words, I want to reach Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings, or have the thought, or describe it to somebody. Our bodhicitta as it appears to us, as we think of it. It's the appearing side of our experience. Its emptiness is its ultimate, is our ultimate bodhicitta. That really the direct perception of emptiness is what they mean by ultimate bodhicitta. Right, so it really is a.
So it's combined with this heart opening experience when we commit to every being to
Right.
love it and to take care.
Right. Because its appearance is that. And its ultimate bodhicitta is still the emptiness of that. Yeah. Good. Okay. So we have been learning that lesser capacity and medium capacity practitioners, what they have in mind for their goal is to reach nirvana. And Mahayana level, great capacity practitioners, something in their heart, really probably from the beginning for them in that life, is already saying, no, that's not enough for me to end my suffering. Yes, I want to do it, but come on, everybody else, humans alone, everybody else. And then all those animals, and then all those ones that maybe exist that we don't even see. And oh my gosh, there are so many. And we could see how if our mindset was not right, Mahayana wannabe, that would just be too big. You know, we understand karma enough to know all that suffering is their karma, which is true. I can't handle their karma. It's enough for me to handle mine. So I'll be doggedly determined to reach that place where I stop my suffering, which means I'm stopping contributing to stop suffering in the world. And that's the highest that I think humans can achieve. Mahayana understands, no, I want to be Buddha. And it's like, where does that come from? I didn't grow up with that in my culture. I had to grow up to become God. It's like, be good so you can sit at the feet of God when you die. Like that was the biggest thing I could do. And yeah, that'd be great. I don't know that it's all that different than reaching nirvana. But it's not becoming God, and how blasphemous that would be if you went to your priest or pastor and go, you know what? Teach me how to be God. So what's the difference? We want to know the difference between nirvana and Buddhahood. And in order to know the difference, we need to know what's nirvana. What do we mean by nirvana then? So let's dig into the definition. We have 2 classes to do this. All right, so here's our vocabulary. Nirvana is the Sanskrit word. Nyingde is the Tibetan, but it's a contraction of a longer phrase that I'll get to in a minute. Nirvana. In Sanskrit, nirvana means to blow out. Like here's the candle. The Tibetans didn't translate it that way. It meant something really different, apparently, to the culture of those who use the term nirvana, what we mean by to blow out. The Tibetans translated it as to go beyond grief, which still seems like an odd thing. How did they get go beyond grief from to blow out? So this Nyingde is a short form of this longer phrase, Yang Yen Lein Depa. So when there's this little apostrophe, it makes the prenasal between the lay and the D. So it looks like it's Len Depa. There's an N. It sounds like there's an N in there. But it wouldn't be right to put an N in there because that changes the Tibetan, apparently. So, Yang Yen Len Depa is this more complete phrase of the Tibetan translation of what's meant by nirvana. Depa means beyond gone. It means gone beyond. And yang is grief. So we tend to think of grief as the loss we feel when a loved one dies, the loss we feel, when we lose a job. We tend to associate grief with losses. And used in this context, that's too limiting. And guess what surprised me when I first heard this, because he said, no, the phrase is more like when we use the term grief as a slang, and your buddy's giving you a bunch of trouble, slack, we call it, and you go, quit giving me grief. And it means, come on, you're bugging me. You're being irritating. You're getting in the way. And so gone beyond grief means gone beyond the possibility of anybody giving you grief. That kind of grief, slang grief. But now it does include gone beyond grieving from a loss. But it doesn't mean that when, somebody disappears from your life, you don't care. It's not that state of gone beyond grief. It's gone beyond this being irritated by anything. It's much more moment to moment than no more grief. Yang, gone beyond grief. So let's look at its definition. What do they mean? Gone beyond grief. So we have this long phrase, and we're going to go, part by part. Nyundrip malupar pangpe sosor tangok, because there's that weird N again. It sounds like tangok, T-A-N-G-G-O-K, but that's not the right English, so you don't use that. Sosor tangok nyangde. Nirvana. Let's see, which direction shall we go? Nirvana. Let's just go piece by piece. Here's Sosor Tangok. Sosor means one by one. Tangok, literally it means cessation, gok. And the tongue here, it means seeing. So related to tonglam, T-O-N-G, but here the tongue means seeing. So some cessation that comes about by something that we've seen, but not necessarily with our eyeballs, that does something one by one. And so we'll come back to that. Pangpe means eliminated. So the one by one refers to what's getting eliminated because of the cessation due to something we've seen. So let's go backwards yet. Malupar means in their entirety. In their entirety. And nyundrip, nyun means mental affliction in English, klesha. I should put that. in Sanskrit, in drip means sorry, obstacle. So nundrip together means mental affliction and obstacles. What that's trying to describe is that what we have brought to a cessation one by way of something that we have seen, meaning experienced directly, has in their entirety eliminated our mental afflictions and what are called obstacles. So the obstacles mean those subtle seeds for more mental afflictions, unripened seeds for more mental afflictions. And the nyun is the active mental afflictions that any given experience might arise in us. We have eliminated that the ability for that mental affliction to arise. And we've eliminated even the unripened seeds for more of those. Those are eliminated as well. This is not talking about the obstacles to omniscience. Those have not been eliminated. But any seed that is trying to ripen, is ripening as what would cause a mental affliction, can't cause the mental affliction. And then to be at nirvana, we've reached that, and we've reached the stage where the unripened seeds for more of those mental afflictions have been so damaged, they can't ripen either. That means any experience that we have as a being who's reached this state of mind, nothing will rock our peace of mind. Seeds may ripen as unpleasant experiences, or what we would have called unpleasant and gotten upset over. But we don't get upset over it. We respond with wisdom, because that's what we use to get there. And we understand clearly how the process is functioning. Now, if we got there without bodhicitta, this state of freedom from any mental affliction, now and now and now and now, and freedom for the seeds of ever having a mental affliction again, we're in nirvana. If that happens to you tomorrow, you'll still need to go get on the bus to go to work. And anybody looking at you, they may be like, wow, she's really smiling today. But we won't look any different. We won't be someplace different. Your world doesn't disappear and you end up in Hawaii. Your mind is different. And so your response to your moment by moment experiences is very different. But it doesn't happen just poof, all at once. It comes about sosor, one by one. Because what's hidden inside here is that the sosor tangok is meaning this individual analysis of that thing that we saw that is going to help us bring about the cessation of our mental afflictions and seeds for more obstacles. So Geshe-la's translation of this, where is it? Let me go to the homework. A cessation, the Tangok, a cessation which comes from the individual analysis and which consists of having eliminated the mental affliction obstacles in their entirety. A cessation which comes from the individual analysis and which consists of having eliminated the mental affliction obstacles in their entirety. The individual analysis is code for seeing emptiness directly, coming out of it, and experiencing directly those four Arya truths. We went into our direct perception having studied about those truths. We went into it. Yeah, let's leave it at that. And when we come out of it, we have that recognition that, wow, I just experienced the Dharmakaya, the empty nature of all things, of myself, of Buddha, all Buddhas, and subsequent experiences take us to that direct realization of the truth of suffering. Like everything is suffering, both the verb and the noun, and the causes for more. And all that suffering has cause. And it's possible to stop those causes, to stop all that suffering. And here's the way to do it. Those four Arya truths. We come out of that and we go back to seeing our world in the same old way. So we are not yet at nirvana. We have reached some cessation of doubt in our path, cessation of belief in things having their natures in them. And there's a third one I'm not remembering right now. But we then are on that path of habituation where we are working with what we now know to be true about where all those situations that cause my mental afflictions to arise are really coming from my behavior towards those situations. And so we systematically set about to burn off all of that past misunderstanding through our experiences. So whatever experience comes up, it seems like the other is doing that to me. It seems like the me is separate from the them doing that. And it seems like the unpleasantness that's arising is because of what they did to me. But we know we're mistaken on all those three counts. And so we know how I respond is how I create my future experiences. And so that's enough for us to choose some different, more kind response than our seeds ripening make us want to do. So it's this wisdom that we've gained from seeing emptiness directly gives us that ability to, the seeds have ripened with this wrong way of seeing, and we have the ability, the seeds are ripening with us, have the ability to choose a different response. And then our task is to do it and do it and do it and do it. And as we do it, we are burning off all those mental afflictions. 84,000, Buddha says. That's a lot. As we burn them off and don't replant, then the seeds for a similar situation have also lost power because we didn't replant. That would ordinarily have made them grow. They're still growing on their own, but they're not growing in the way they were before because we don't have the ignorance component, and we've just consciously chosen a different response, presumably a more kind response because of what we know. So we can see how the pattern is, we just have to systematically work through our mental afflictions until the seeds for them are so damaged they can't ripen as a mental affliction. We're not damaging seeds from ripening into circumstances. We're damaging the component of the mental affliction in those seeds. On our path of habituation, on our way to nirvana. We're doing the same thing if we went into and came out of our direct perception of emptiness with a mind imbued with bodhicitta. We're still on our path of habituation, working with our ripening seeds to stop replanting the mental affliction that arises from the blaming the other, because we're not blaming the other anymore. And now we're doing it so that we can reach Buddhahood. Does that mean we don't also reach nirvana? No, of course we'll reach that same state where all of our seeds for a mental affliction or the seeds for more will be so fully damaged they won't go off. But they're not cleared yet of the way in which they block our ability to perceive emptiness directly and dependent origination directly simultaneously. So for Mahayanists, that state of mind we would call nirvana is reached, but you don't really stop and say, do I want to stay here or not? It's your trajectory is towards Buddhahood. And at some point, it must get easier or less painful, less of a struggle, because you're finally free of those things giving you grief. Your response to anything that comes up is this peaceful, calm, for a Mahayanist, probably loving state of mind. And it doesn't really matter what's going on. You know, I think most of us have heard the King of Kalinka story from Diamond Cutter Sutra. You know, in Buddha's former life, he's this great yogi, and something he didn't do has pissed off the king. And in the king's rage, he's cutting off the guy's fingers and toes as he's asking, "What's your name, yogi?" "My name is Mr. Patience." "Ah, really? Let's see how patient you are." Whack, whack, whack. "What's your name now?" "My name is Mr. Patience." and it goes on like this, and his fingers and toes are like laying all around. And finally, I don't know, he gets the chance to say to somebody, if I had seen any of this as self-existent coming from its side, I would have gotten upset. And if I had gotten upset, I would have hurt somebody. I mean, my guess is he had some kind of powers, and if his mind went to hate, the king probably would have blown up or something. So he's like, wow, that was pretty cool, actually. I could experience all of that pain and really not get upset with the king. Thank you, king. Like, I love you all the more because you showed me how far I've come. And that just made the king even crazier. And finally, the guy says to the king, well, I'll show you, and he did this act of truth. If it's true that I love the king and I don't have an instant of mental upset, then let my digits all like reform, and the fingers and toes all jump up and reattach. And it's like, imagine the king. He's like, okay, I'm at your service. And it's a long story after that. The king becomes that, the yogi becomes the prince who comes across the 5 tigers, the tiger mom and the babies, and he gives his blood to save the mom so she can save the babies so that they can become his first students. And then the king is one of those. I think the king is the mom tiger. And then those 5 become his first students when he's Buddha. And the king is one of the ones that sees emptiness directly in those very early days. So it's tracing back how this connection is that we share. But the point was, despite the pain of getting your digits cut off, you just love the guy even more. That's pretty unbelievable. Nyangde, beyond grief. Why did I go into that? So we got the definition of nirvana. A question on your homework says, what does the individual analysis mean here? And this is that code for experiencing those 4 Arya truths one by one, which actually each have 4 aspects. So really there's 16, we'll learn them later, that come only after experiencing emptiness directly. And so in that state of awareness, those Arya truths to be true. That's why they're called truths. They're facts that you come to experience directly, and so are true. Whereas before, we studied them, we learned them, we logic them, we hope that they're true. But experiencing them directly takes it to that next step. Individual analysis means all that. Means having seen emptiness directly, seen the 4 Arya truths, and then knowing them to be true, we will live according to them. We won't be able to not live according to them. And that becomes our path of habituation. Okay, so then this term Nyungdrip, the mental affliction obstacles. A mental affliction, they say, is any any state, any thought which has ruined your peace of mind. And he doesn't really mean a series of words, thought, but any movement of the mind, the reaction of which is right? Either reject or grasp, has ruined our peace of mind. It implies that our mind can move to things and we don't lose this state of peaceful response to it. Whereas ordinarily, our mind moves to something, right, like nature in it seems pleasant. I like pleasant. I want it. I'm going to get it. And then the reverse for unpleasant, that dominoes of Lord Maitreya's 6 steps that we'll learn again and again. To be free of that doesn't mean free of experiences happening, but free of that domino driven by misunderstanding. It's not enough to just say to be free of mental affliction. They say it's more complete and more accurate to add the drip, which means it's the word for obstacles. But what they're trying to explain here is that we could be in a situation that ordinarily we would get upset over. And this time, son of a gun, I'm in the same situation, but I don't feel upset like I usually do. And we might think, oh, great, I've reached the nirvana of that particular mental affliction because I didn't have the old reaction one time. And they say, yeah, but do you know for sure that you won't come across a situation like that again and react badly again just because you didn't one time? Are you sure you're completely free of it? And their example is as a monastic, most of them enter the monastic training at 7 years old. And they stay there. They stay mostly within the boundaries of the monastery, all through puberty and young adulthood, until if they go all the way through the geshe and then get launched, they're probably 25 or 30 by the time they're out amongst the world. But say a 16-year-old hasn't gone out, he's really stayed within the monastery, and he might be saying, no, I have no desire for a girl. But then he gets the chance to, go out, and he goes out to a party, and there's some beautiful girls. Is it likely that he will come back and say, yeah, I have no desire for girls? Very likely he's going to go, oh, I guess I did. They just weren't ripening because the circumstances weren't there. The only girls I was seeing were those old ladies bringing us the offerings, and it's like, I must have no desire because they didn't kick off desire in me. But show me a cute one, that's a different story. So for it to be nirvana, both the active mental affliction can't happen, and there aren't any sleeping ones that can ripen either. You can get a glimpse of what a powerful state of peacefulness that would be. We don't have it because we don't really know what seeds we've got in there, and for sure we don't know What's ripening next? That's part of the whole suffering of samsara. Pervasive suffering is we're just at its mercy. But imagine having the state of mind that it doesn't matter that we're at its mercy. Our response will be what it needs to be to bring everybody to that peaceful state of mind if we're Mahayana. If we're not Mahayana, the state of mind is, I will know how to respond to bring an end to all of that upset state of mind that's causing the other to do that to me. Yes, coming out of my seeds. So our mental afflictions are made of mind. They are thoughts. They are awarenesses. They're the active experience that we're having. The drips are the bakchaks. I didn't write that. Bakchak is Tibetan. Bakchak. Pretty sure that's Tibetan. Bak. Sometimes SH, sometimes it's CH. I'm going to use the CH. Bakchak. It means those mental seeds, but meaning the potentials. The potentials that are in us that we put in there by way of perceiving ourselves, thinks they do towards others. They haven't ripened yet. They're being influenced by every other one in and out. But they haven't yet come into the full-on experience that triggers our mental affliction. Right? So bakchaks are these seeds, sleeping seeds, Geshe Michael calls them. They are not mental things. You could make a case for them being very, very subtle physical things, but they say they're not mental, they're not physical. They're in that category of existing things that are not quite either one. They become a mental thing when they ripen into our mental aspect of our experience. They bring about the physical thing when out of them comes the first physical experience. But as the seed that's not yet ripened, they are neither. They're just this tendency that we have. The active afflicted thoughts experience and those sleeping seeds are what block our constant peaceful state of mind. It implies that if we didn't have those, our state of mind would, from its own side, be peaceful. And that makes a great debate because we're misunderstanding it as we're trying to understand it. But we have to start somewhere. We're creating a state of mind whose default mode is peace. We have to create it. It's not that because we haven't created it. And so we have these seeds for both the active mental afflictions and the potentials for more that block that state of mind. That state of mind is the nirvana state of mind. Peace. mm, 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 mm. I'm not remembering the Tibetan word for arhat. So I'm not even going to try. But there are these other vocabularies that can help us. Moksha in Sanskrit means liberation or freedom. In Tibetan, it's tarpa. We use the term liberation for Arya because they've liberated themselves from their belief in things having their natures in them. But then it has another meaning when they reach that stage in which their seeds no longer have in them the perceiving things as having their natures in them. Because of all that effort they made to weed out their ignorance through their path of habituation, they reach a point where they are experiencing directly everything is coming from their own past behavior. And so really it's because of that awareness that we can be so free of the upset that comes about from our experiences. Because our upset comes from not understanding where those pleasantnesses and unpleasantnesses really come from. The more we understand and recognize that the unpleasantness of the angry, yelling boss has been made by past me's, and this current me can make more or not, the better able my current me is able to refuse to act from the anger. And as I do that, that same recurring situation makes me angry less and less and less until even that situation full on, no upset there. Experience still happens. I respond appropriate to my understanding and what I'm trying to create. So as we're getting close to that, are we really going to be trying to avoid unpleasant stuff? There'd be no need to avoid. There really wouldn't even, I mean, you're still going to experience somebody yelling at you differently than somebody telling you they love you. But your peaceful state of mind, it will respond with a peaceful response in both situations. So arhat is the level where the liberation is now such that we're liberated from the struggle to not respond badly to our mental afflictions, because there are no more mental afflictions. So it's not like we're liberated from some place. We're liberated from the jail of our own perpetuating our samsara. And that's true whether we reached arhat as our goal or we came to arhat ship on our way to Buddhahood. We still reach that state of no more mental upset. We then have other stuff to do. to clear out our obstacles to omniscience as Mahayanists. But it's gonna be pretty effortless. It's gonna be a mind of peace that does those things. So liberation, you can say it starts at direct perception of emptiness, and it continues to grow and reaches what we call full-on liberation at Arhat, but liberation is not total enlightenment. If our goal was Arhat, our liberation would be called enlightenment, but not total enlightenment. And that's how our tradition makes the distinction, so that we don't fight with other traditions when they say, you know, my Lama's an enlightened being. It's like, oh, are they omniscient? Well, no. Well, then they're not enlightened. You know, no need to get into that. Great. They are free of mental afflictions and the seeds for more. How great. Okay, let's see. Let's take our break. Yeah, okay.
Lama, sorry, can you repeat something I didn't get when you were explaining the liberation part? So there is the liberation of the mental afflictions themselves, but also there is another level you were saying where the seeds, something with the seeds that they don't have the appearing part of. I didn't get it.
Right.
Then I
So,
got lost.
yeah, when we reach our hot level of liberation, we no longer experience things as self-existent at all, which means we are experiencing things as our seeds ripening, as dependent, accurate dependent origination. And when we reach that experience, constant, our Mahayana level would say, if we're going to say you've reached nirvana, that would be it. But we don't really even use that term. We say Bodhisattva has reached eighth Bodhisattva booming. But you know, that's a detail that's not so important. It's this shift from still things look self-existent, but I know they're not. And as we're working with those seeds to not replant them, eventually there's no more in there that ripen as seeing them as self-existent anymore. Not self, not other, not interaction between. All perceiving it as coming out of your own past behavior. I can't conceive of what that's like. I can imagine what the mental state of mind might be like, but I can't quite conceive of how's stuff going to look different. And I don't think it is, because it's always been coming out of our seeds. Right? What's going to be gone is something that was never there in the first place. So it's something about our reaction that will be different when we reach this level. And we'll know it when we get there.
Okay, thank you.
That's more clear. Oh, if somebody reaches nirvana tonight, do they have to die to do so? No. Would we necessarily know that they did? No. Would they know that they did? Absolutely. I can imagine they would jump out of bed. Wow, yeah. Hmm. Does nobody know that they did but them? Trick question. Don't Buddhas know? Yes. So no ordinary being will know that you've reached your nirvana unless you tell them, but then you won't tell them because it would be a bad seed for them to say, no, you didn't. But Buddhas know. So you might end up having a Buddha party all by yourself. So now the rest of this class and into next is there's 4 different types of nirvana, meaning 4 things we mean by the word nirvana. So they say there are 4 kinds of nirvana nominally. The first of the 4 is called Rangshan Yangde. Rangshan Yangde is a synonym for Dundam Dempa. Anybody remember Dundam Dempa? Dempa means truth. Dundam means ultimate. Ultimate truth, meaning ultimate reality. So this Nyangde, this nirvana, Rangshan, is called natural nirvana. Rangshan means natural. It's another way of speaking about ultimate reality. What do we mean by ultimate reality? The empty nature of whatever we're talking about. The empty nature of the object, the empty nature of the subject, the empty nature of the interaction between, and everything about that interaction between. Does ultimate reality exist independent of the appearance of subjects, objects, and interactions between? No. Correct. No. In order for emptiness to exist, there has to be something that is empty. Empty of its nature, in it, from it. Independent of the subject side seeds, including the subject side. So when we say natural nirvana, something has natural nirvana. What it means is that we're recognizing that any existing thing we're talking about is seeds ripening and nothing but. The nothing but being its empty nature. The banana is not that banana until the perceiver of the banana says, oh, that banana. The angry yelling boss is not an angry yelling boss until the perceiver of them says, that angry yelling boss. We've heard it so many times, but every time we hear it, we'll hear it a little bit differently. What about from his side? He's hearing himself be an angry yelling boss right now. That's not coming from me. But I'm not aware of what he's aware of himself as. I'm only aware of what I think I know him to think of himself as. It's all coming from every instant of my experience is unique to me. So the causes have to be unique to me. The results are unique to me, and how I behave is where my power lies to create future unique to me experiences. Okay? I'm doing it anyway. I might as well do it consciously. Yes, Lisa.
For me, it's somehow confusing why we use different words or terms for the same. Like we say before, ultimate bodhicitta is emptiness. It's a code word for emptiness.
Yeah.
Now, natural nirvana is also somehow a code word for emptiness.
Yes.
I don't know why this is a bit confusing.
Yeah. I mean, why does language have synonyms at all? I don't know the answer to that. In this context, every different synonym gives us more clues about what they mean by the thing that's being synonymed. Right? So if we're taking ultimate reality to be the thing that we're giving different names to, every different name gives us a different understanding of that one thing. And if we just use the one term, we can't get to all those nuances of it. I think it has something to do with that. And until we really have the big picture, we'll be thinking, oh, I don't get these nuances. They're just frustrating. But the hearing about them is enough to just let them get in there and let them cook. And it will come along. But that's not to say don't think about them, and don't wonder about them, or don't, try to check them out. We still try to do that. And when we come to one that we just can't seem to figure out, that's the one we put on the shelf for now. Instead of saying, I'm just going to stick with one word.
Is it to understand, like with the proofs of emptiness, that there are 1,000 or I don't know how many proofs of emptiness according to the different levels of people?
Right. Similar idea, right? Somebody will go, oh, I get it now from this Rong-Shen Young Day. And others go, why do I need so many words? Okay? And it's okay for both. So ultimate truth and natural nirvana are synonyms, because the natural here, referring to the word nirvana, free of all mental afflictions and seeds for more, means that it's always been that way. Meaning, if we did not have mental afflictions and seeds for more, we would have this peace of mind. Not that our peace of mind is self-existent, but if you don't have the seeds for it to get upset, and you still have seeds for a mind, which we do, what else is left if you can't get upset and you're still existing? What else do we call that? Even if you want to call it neutral, it's still not afflicted peace. So natural nirvana, the emptiness of self-other interaction between, is called natural nirvana because that emptiness has always been empty, 100% empty. Those things, existing things, have always been 100% empty. Not self-existently empty, but always empty. And that means that empty nature of all those existing things, that emptiness cannot be a cause for a mental affliction or a seed for more. The emptiness of the boss causing my mental affliction according to my ignorant mind is not the part that's causing my mental affliction. It's my inability to understand the emptiness that's causing my mental affliction. So the emptiness of our worst situations is that situation's natural nirvana. The situation is not nirvana. My mind is not nirvana in that situation. But all three parts, subject, object, interaction between all, are in fact lacking their natures in them. And that's called their state of natural nirvana. So there's a question. Can anything, could there be anything that is natural nirvana and real nirvana at the same time? It's like, I know, I got a crank. What's she asking me? Is there a state of mind of a cessation of all bad thoughts and its emptiness? Does that exist somewhere? Yeah. Every Buddha, any being who is nirvana, who's reached nirvana, we would say. Because the natural nirvana simply means the emptiness of them. And the reaching nirvana means they're free of those mental afflictions. Okay, I'm actually done with this class. We pick up the rest of the other three nominal nirvanas in next class. And the reason some of these classes end up being so short is that when Geshe-la was offering the class, the students there were like having an animated discussion as he reviewed the previous class, and they end up doing these debates. And there are lots of distractions, and it goes on for a half an hour or so before they let him actually get to the next class. It's very frustrating to listen to those early early audios. Just shut up and let him give class. That was my mind. But I'd rather not just push into the next class. I'd rather give you a little time off or stay and chat. So you have what you need for your homework 5 from now. Yeah. So let's do our dedication. I will stop share. Remember that person you wanted to be able to help? Believe it or not, we have learned a lot that we will use sooner or later to help them in that deep and ultimate way. And that's an extraordinary goodness. So please be happy with yourself. And think of this goodness like a beautiful glowing gemstone that you can hold in your hands. Recall your own precious holy guide. See how happy they are with you. Grow your gratitude to them. Your reliance upon them. Ask them to please stay close, to continue to guide you, help you, inspire you. And then offer them this gemstone of goodness. See them accept it and bless it. And then carry it with them right back into your heart. See them there, feel them there. Their love, their compassion, their wisdom. It feels so good. We want to keep it forever. And so we share it by the power of the goodness that we've just done. May all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the 2 ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. So use those 3 long exhales to share this goodness with that one person. To share it with everyone you love. To share it with every being you've ever heard of. See them all filled with happiness, filled with wisdom, filled with kindness. And may it be so. Okay. Thank you so much. I can stay if you have questions, but maybe you want to go to bed early. Or go back to bed. You who are up at 3 o'clock. It's only 4 o'clock. You could get 2 hours sleep. Go to bed. Go to bed.
I have one question, a personal
Okay, yes,
question.
ma'am.
A personal question.
Oh, personal question. Bye-bye. I love you. I'll see you
Thank you,
Thank you.
Dharma. Bye.
Thursday. Not sooner. Okay. Bye-bye.